I'd like to call tonight's meeting of the Lower McKenzie Township Board of Commissioners to order. If we could all please stand for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stand it, we're done with.
Okay, the first up on the agenda for this evening is the audit report for 2024. Dale Umbenauer from Maley is here with his presentation. Dale, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So this year, I thought I'd change things up a little bit, and I created just a little presentation to go over rather than sit and go through page after page after page.
Thank you.
So the first page is our key financial statement line items. So these are broken down between the governmental activities and the business type activities. So we have $21,509,965 worth of cash, $16,802,100 of investments. And then we have receivables of $574,556, capital assets of $84,974,437. We have payables of $2,133,448. We have unearned revenue, which is broken out between recreation and traffic developer contributions. We have long-term debt of $16,704,000, and then the OPEB liability is $0. We have comparison numbers from the prior year, and you can see that there's significant variances with the receivables and the OPEB liability. The receivables variance is due to the fact that in 2024, we broke out the sanitation from the general fund into its own business type activity fund. So those activities for sanitation have moved from the governmental activities columns to the business type activities columns. For the business type activities, we had cash of $253,453, investments of $8,352,600, receivables of $3,495,635, and there you can see the significant increase in the receivables. Capital assets of $17,109,830, and payables of $1,133,890. Again, comparison numbers from the prior year in the other column. This slide shows comparison for net position, again broken out between governmental activities and business type activities. It shows for the last 5 years, and then for 2023, we had a restatement, and that's basically to show the change in the reporting entity from moving the sanitation from governmental to business type. So what that did was decrease the net position on the governmental activities and increased it on the business type activities. We ended up with net position on the governmental activities of $101,273,388, and on the business type activities, $28,035,141. This slide shows changes in net position between governmental activities and business type activities. For 2024, we had revenues of $19,541,497, expenses of $15,612,309, for a net change before transfers and other items of $3,902,188. We had transfers out of $26,070, and what that was capital assets relating to sanitation were moved from governmental to business type activities. Special item of $1,151,690 relates to the gain on the termination of the OPEB plan, leaving a change in net position of $5,027,808. In the business type activities, the revenues were $10,364,356. The expenses were $9,089,919 for a net change before transfers and other items of $1,274,437. Our transfers in of $26,070 gave us a net change in net position of $1,300,507. Next slide is the general fund budget versus actual. So this shows the final budget, the actual, and then the variance. We budgeted for total revenues of $12,408,975. They came in at Total expenditures, final budget, $12,058,130. Actual, $11,408,589. Positive budget variance of $649,541. We budgeted for other financing uses of $350,845. The actual was $650,000. So that's a negative budget variance of $299,155. We budgeted for a zero change in fund balance, and the actual was $2,397,694, giving us a positive budget variance of $2,397,694. Factoring in the reporting changes gives us an overall positive budget variance for the year of $1,109,870. Next slide shows the governmental fund balances breakdown. These are the 5 categories of governmental fund balance. We had 19,153 of non-spendable. We had 13,145,469 of restricted, 22,767 of committed, 16,896,904 of assigned, and 3,624,291 of unassigned. The next few slides are just required communications with commissioners. I'm required to inform you that the objective of an audit is to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of misstatement. The audit is conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, and the opinion was unmodified with the exception that we had an emphasis of matter related to the restatement of the change in reporting entity. So it's still a clean opinion, it just has an emphasis of matter paragraph. There were no significant accounting policies that were required any significant research. There was nothing that lacked authoritative guidance. Current year, we adopted GASB 100 and GASB 101. GASB 100 relates to the change in the reporting entity, and GASB 101 relates to compensated absences, which was a new GASB standard that needed to be implemented in the current year. We have significant estimates in the financial statements relating to the fair value of level 2 investments. Those are things like corporate bonds and treasury bonds, where you can't just go out to Yahoo Finance and get a price on it. And then the lease receivable and the related deferrals. We had no difficulties or disagreements with management, and our audit adjustments were posted by management. Are there any questions on anything I went over, or any questions on anything in the financial statements themselves?
Commissioners, anything? No, I guess the bottom line is that everything is in order from your standpoint, as it should be.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And there are no questions, Dale.
Okay.
Thank you very much again for all your hard work on this. Jeff, thank you very much for working with Dale on this. It's important that the public understand that we do these audits to make sure that there's sound financial planning here and also financial management. And we appreciate you reflecting that in your report. Okay. Moving on, item number 3, review plans for the Schenkel subdivision located at 7624 Mountain Road. Sorry, I was going to say Planner Tranguch, but let's go to Planner Nate, which it's kind of like a acid trip right now because you're sitting there and I don't expect to see you. Not that I would know what that is, but what I've heard in listening to music. Nate, if you would like to chime in.
I'd be happy to. Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioners, it gives me pleasure to present to you the Schenkel subdivision. This has been the product of quite some time and work now for some time. It's a 5-lot subdivision on Mountain Road. Lot 1 is a primary residence that's currently in existence. It would be subdivided into 10 acres. Lot 2 is a wooded mountain lot, 77 acres that would be preserved and a non-buildable lot moving forward. Lot 3, the north lot on the north side of Mountain Road, is a 7-acre lot preserved and non-buildable. And lots 4 and 5 are each 2 residual lots, each being 2 acres, and they will be able to house 1 residential single-family structure on each. This is the product of a lot of positive work with the landowner and the township to continue to work towards our township open space preservation goals. This is right at the foot of South Mountain, and our comprehensive plan and other planning documents note the importance of preservation of land there. The Planning Commission at their May 13th meeting provided a recommendation. These recommendations included a couple of waivers and deferrals. I'll list them out briefly. First, relief from the road width right-of-way and no dedication of the ultimate right-of-way on Mountain Road, a state road. Further offering another one for dedication of the right-of-way and no widening on Mountain Road, which is currently a rural road. Waiver of sidewalks and curbs, again, on the rural road. Waiver of transportation impact fee, and waiver of the dedication of an open space and payment fee, as there will be open space primarily used with this land. The deferrals that were recommended by the Planning Commission include a 10-foot utility easement that is generally required along the side and rear lot lines of a new lot. Deferral of stormwater retention, that would be done at the time of any building permits for these two residual lots that would have single-family homes on them. And then the deferral of street trees, which would also be contemplated at the time of the building permits for those two single-family homes. That's what I've been able to ascertain from our records at this time. However, I do hand it off to Vince and Brian to provide greater detail to you that I might have missed during my time away.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. So just adding to what Nathan has said today, we do not have a resolution for the board to review right now tonight. We are working on that right now currently with solicitor staff here, the engineer. We will be able to distribute that hopefully in the next week or two for your review prior to this coming in front of you again at a business meeting. So the one thing that I want to note that we are working with the property owner along with their attorney and our solicitor is the easement for the properties, the 90-some acres that the owner, Mr. Schenkel, would like to keep in open space. We are looking to preserve that in perpetuity and also asking the applicant to rescind the development rights on those. So no further development can be done on those lots in the future. I did want to add that during the Planning Commission meeting, the applicant, Mr. Schenkel, did offer to install walking paths in the future, provide easement if there was connectivity to any walking path or trail from any other donated land or land that is already on the South Mountain. So was amendable to that at the Planning Commission meeting. So we're going to include that as well in the resolution.
Mr. Engineer, anything to add?
Not really. I mean, my May 8th review is primarily informational. There's some plan cleanup that needs to be done, but there's no reason this couldn't move forward as recommended by the planning commission. I guess the best way to say it.
Is there any commissioner questions for any of our triumvirate to my right? Commissioner Robert.
Well, does the applicant have anything he wants to?
Well, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, there was one thing that Brian pointed out in his letter that I missed in the waiver deferral letter was the PennDOT permit for Lot 2. We would prefer to defer that. Mr. Schenkel doesn't want anyone driving back on the Lot 2 at the present time. You know, we probably end up people dumping garbage or going in and parking there. So we'd like to defer that till if it would be required by the commissioners for some time in the future. So we'll add that to the waiver letter, and something that should go into the resolution then as a deferral to when you would request that in the future. And with the two lots, the other thing is it is in Act 319. The one lot his son's going to be building on in the near future. The other lot, they don't know what his daughter is going to be building on that. It may not be deeded out at any time in the future. It's whenever she decides to move forward with it. But it can't be deeded out the same year as the lot that's going to be deeded to his son.
Yeah, Vince?
I think the only thing that, we could comment is pending the type of restriction that's put on that property. I don't think it would serve for further development. Therefore, I don't think an HOP would be necessary. There would not be any driveway. There would not be any further development. So I don't quite know if it would be a deferral by the
Mhm.
board. So we can work that out with Bud and Brian and get David in the loop. But I don't think that would be necessary.
Okay.
Yeah,
There would not
however you
be
want-
further development needed a driveway. Unless Mr. Schenkel would put a driveway for some kind of access that he would need for that.
He doesn't need any access. He prefer not to have any access because he doesn't want people driving onto that property.
I think that may be handled at the time of if there were any trails that at the time they decided to put any kind of parking there to support a trail. I think that would be handled at that time with PennDOT.
Commissioner Robert.
Okay, one thing that just want to point out is that my understanding is that the applicant is offering for dedication the ultimate right-of-way along Shonik Road, but is not offering the ultimate right-of-way along Mountain Road,
Yes.
which
The
is
Mountain
a-
Road is a state highway.
which is a state highway, so it would be, they are willing to offer the ultimate right-of-way to the township, but not. And I don't have any problem with it. Just bringing it to people's attention.
From the discussions we had with PennDOT, they have no plans to do any work on Mountain Road.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a quick question, but I'm rereading my letter. I'm not seeing where I bring up anything
Oh.
about a PennDOT permit.
Then it was in Vincent Chris's letter. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. No, I just,
Is one of the review letters.
okay. Yeah, I, because there's no construction proposed at this time,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Yeah, there was
Yeah, it's-
a note in the zoning officer's letter, but again,
Yeah.
it was just a clarification point. So again, I
Okay.
think if there were anything in the future that would support either parking lot or trail or then it would be addressed at that point.
Just we'll make sure we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed.
No other questions? Bud, thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, it's gonna be a nice contribution to the township.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, item 4, review amended park memorial policy. Mr. Vital.
Thank you, Commissioners. We wanted to have a discussion with all of you regarding the Park Memorial Policy. Several months ago, we kind of had a discussion about a way we could amend the policy, have things for in the rec department and in parks go through recreation. As it was before, they went to a Parks and Rec board. It then came to all of you gentlemen to consider. This would amend the policy to have the interfaces with recreation, work with those applicants, see what parks they want to have, and then approve that at a departmental level. Take that back and just advise the Parks and Rec committee now that this is coming for the park, just to make sure that there's no issues from the area or resident feedback that may occur, and then move forward through the process of that at that level. Any controversial type items would come back before the board for your consideration. So, and anything where we have public safety or significant impact to township parks, so that everyone is aware at that point. So, Public Works still does the work to do those installs. We still verify that they're appropriate in the park, just more focused now on the recreation department and where that is. So this amends the policy to say that. It also removes the bench only and the tree plaque bench, just for the simple fact of the benches were getting such a astronomical in nature, $1,850 just for a bench. So we didn't think that would be a very popular option. So we took those out, as well as the logistics for benches. So it updates that and also the forms for the applicants to fill out for that program. So would like to make sure everybody's okay with it. Would bring it back just for a consideration. And then we can start to implement.
Any questions for Bruce on the amendment to, or the amending of the park memorial policy? Okay, seeing none, manager updates.
Uh,
Mr. Vital.
Thanks. I have a couple items just to, put out there. We're looking, and we talked about Service Road 2, which is off of Cedar Brook by the Holiday Inn and the Stone Depot there. We had talked to the residents. They had given, or not residents, but both businesses. They had given us feedback of Hamilton Circle as a proposed street name, which they thought would be okay with them. Being in touch with that business community, we were okay as well proposing that to the board, which we did at a previous meeting. We sent that to both business owners. We haven't heard any response back at this point. We're ready to go forward and get a name on that service road. So we were just going to bring back the consideration of the board now and advise you that we haven't heard anything from those businesses, but we as a staff feel now that we're ready to move forward. So wanted to have that at one of the future June meetings, unless the board wanted us to continue to do some additional outreach. But Ms. Flexer has been trying, contacts via email and phone with no response. So, yard waste pass. So the implementation continues for yard waste passes. We're up to about 1,645 now at this point, as of earlier today. We are scanning membership cards at the Yard Waste Center. We are working for some outreach, continuing with those users. We've provided some handout cards so that they can understand the process. We're working through applications here at this building and the Public Works building. Staff has been very diligent with the influx of permitting. We're trying to have people enroll through our civic recreation management. There are some glitches with mobile devices such as iPhones at this point. So we're trying to rebound as a staff and make sure that we're able to continue to take them a little bit old school as we had in the past, both in person and, through email side. We have seen, and I would note, and it could be weather related, of course, but we trend the number of visits to the yard waste site. It's interesting to note that our comparison from April of 2024, including just the month of April and April 2025, as we've been implementing, we've seen a reduction of about 2,000 trips to the Yard Waste Center. So this could be linked to the necessity to be a resident and have passes. But just want to let the board know in case, and the public, get your yard waste pass. We'll help you. And in case there's any questions that you're hearing from constituents. So update on yard waste pass.
So just for clarification, because I came across this the one time I've been there. When you register, you get the sticker and you also get a card. You're supposed to present the card even though there's a sticker on the car when you go. It won't stop you from going in, but they ask to scan your card when you're there.
That's correct. And what we're looking to do is an eventual phase out of the sticker so that you just have the card and do the scanning that way. So we've been working to be accommodating now of accepting people that have a current sticker, accepting people that might have the new sticker for right now to get them through the process, and then working to have their card and keep a log. So hopefully, and if there's logistical issues or concerns, Doug has been working with his staff over there to make sure we're, kind of balanced out. So we don't want to overwhelm the staff with multiple hundreds of permits at one shot. So we're trying to transition this steadily over a few months. So we do have concerns in the fall that when it is time to renew for your 2026 side, if people aren't having accounts set up, that we would then be barraged with several thousand, pass applications at the end of the year. So we're definitely trying to keep an eye on that. So
Questions on that? Yes, Commissioner Butler.
yeah, so right now you can use the old window sticker. We haven't had a firm cutoff. We are asking people when they come into the site for their card, and that hopefully we refer them to a renewal as part of that process. So at some point, we will cut the sticker off, probably later in the year, once we kind of have everybody registered or we feel we have everybody registered. But right now, we've been somewhat lenient, I would say. I don't want to speak for Doug here and their operation, but I believe, with your current sticker, you can get in. We are advising them though that you're going to need to get a card.
Could you use a mic?
Yeah, Ron, can you use the microphone, please?
Do they get the paperwork when they come through to update their status?
Yeah, so we have paperwork there. They can do that and then go over to the Public Works building and fill out paperwork or come here. We're also kind of giving out some little reminder cards. Like, hey, check out our new yard waste pass. And that hopefully that prompts them to come in here or submit. So
All right, so they can get the paperwork and then take it with them and fill it out. And their next trip, they could drop it off.
they can. We found that we were getting a little overwhelmed internally with the paperwork when it was going that way. So we've kind of ratcheted that back a little bit. But we're giving that out in components now instead of handing to everybody. We went through applications fairly quickly. So now we're trying to stagger that out.
Okay, upgrading of emergency services radios.
Yeah, so we had talked about previously the 800 megahertz radio project for emergency services, including police, ambulance, and fire. This upgrade is several $100,000, just over 600,000 for the Lower Macungie Fire Department and Macungie Ambulance Service. The county is offering a 5-year no interest financing plan for these operations. However, the municipality has to be the sponsoring entity. We have to engage the promissory note with the county on their behalf. So we received late last week some notification from the county that if we choose to engage in this process, those items need to be completed and returned to the county no later than June 17th. So that gives us our next board meeting to make sure that the board is okay with that project. We also have legal working on notes for both the ambulance service as well as the fire department. Those would have to be accepted by those agencies. As I said before at previous meetings, they were encouraged to do the project and appreciated the township being the sponsor. So I don't believe that we'll have any logistical issues there, but for us to make the agenda for the next meeting, just want to make sure that everybody is okay with knowing that we'll need promissory notes from both fire and EMS. And then we'll have to engage in the county and we're technically responsible to the county. If everyone's okay with that, with which previous feedback I thought we were, we'll get that on the agenda for the next meeting. So knowing that we have to submit that to the county no later than the 17th.
Okay. Any questions? Moving on.
Just to let everybody know and the public, the Regional Act 537 plan, as we briefly spoke at the last workshop, has been presented at the last Planning Commission meeting. It is now around and available for both public comment as well as Planning Commission comment for the next time period. If anybody has any questions or wants to see the document, it's at the Township Building. I wanted to continue to mention this, at least from a staff level to the public at various public meetings, just so you're aware what that project and that plan is. It highlights the next 5 years worth of source reduction that's going to be submitted to the DEP for potential approval. This plan doesn't consider things like expansion of the Klein's Island sewer plant or conveyance features. This plan is specific for those inflow and infiltration issues throughout the network and is basically the township's pledge to continue working to address those potential issues. Of course, this always comes back on the township side when we have budget discussions, as this is several $1 million a year to address these concerns like laterals, tap-ins at the lateral, and manhole reviews and inspections, as well as cured in place plastic pipelining at our various mains. I can say that we have completed now all pipe lining for these larger areas. All the laterals now are working through our plan to address. So it's important to note that with the cost of these projects and the continued cost that our ratepayers actually pay for, there are longer term items that aren't addressed in this plan, including that $80 to $90 million Western Lehigh Interceptor, which basically Upper and Lower Macungie are responsible for those costs. So, in the next 10 or 15 years, we are in kind of design and route planning at this point. The township will see probably 40% of that number. So a significant $30 to $40 million cost will be coming in addition to these I&I issues, as well as various other capital projects in the system that are antiquated agreements cover, but impose costs to this township of millions and millions of dollars. So always like to make sure that the public is aware. This is why we make the recommendations to the board that we do for infrastructure improvement now, to make sure we're working in a good direction and that there's no surprises of what we believe is coming for long-term sewers and sewer planning. So this is the snapshot of that plan. I would think in 5 years when we re-meter and re-look at items throughout the entire system, that may then set the tone for these future required larger upgrades. So always like to put that out there and have these discussions. Want to make sure the public's aware. There was a question, and it's something that Commissioner Beitler had asked in previous workshops and sessions. I thought a very good one from the Planning Commission members, and it's how do we know and ensure that this matrix that is used is representing that we are addressing or putting dollars at the right component of systems. And I always think that that's fairly complex in that, number one, the overall metering program puts substantial number of meters throughout the system. The board did see a presentation from 2008 data or 2018 data as compared to 2021 data that Mr. Nolan, our engineering side, brought to the board to show kind of those heat maps. I think it's important to note that that is several $100,000 to have it occur throughout the entire system. So that data comes in years and not real time. And I would also note that the DEP data that they consider for the items that we look at are usually like a fixed gallon scenario. So when we report those monthly and quarterly, so if we replace a lateral or a residential lateral, it's a set number of gallons, whether it's leaking 500 gallons or barely nothing. The credits received from the DEP are equal credits all the way through. So until we get the official meter data, when that comes, we like to make sure that we are in areas, kind of designated by the Public Works Department, including areas where we know we have clay pipe in neighborhoods. We know that potential leakage is there, and that's where we first direct our dollars. So thought it was a relevant question. We don't want to waste money or just throw dollars at something, but our priority areas right now are areas we know have had failures either through our lateral inspection program or known items. So those are at the top of our list, and then we work our way backwards. So just wanted to give an update. I think it's always good to talk sewers and make sure people are aware.
Mr. Robert.
Okay, so they have opened the 60-day comment window. Is there anything that the township ought to comment to the LCA associated with this plan?
I don't believe at the staff level that we have any comments. We've been working through various multiple meetings for the last several years on getting us to at least this plan that we hope is sufficient to address the DEP's regulation and their need. So for our end, I don't believe that we do. I think it's a fairly sound plan from what we've come up with as a staff, at least at the township level.
Okay, and are we going to include monies in the 2026 budget for starting to deal with the metering of lines going into the LCA line?
Yeah, we have various meters. And the interesting part is, I don't want to get held to the exact number. The interesting part for us, we have multiples, and I think it's more than probably 20 plus. I have to ask the sewage enforcement officer where these interactions happen. So we're working on our game plan to kind of isolate those direct connections. Most municipalities don't have so many direct connections. The Lehigh Interceptor actually comes down Spring Creek, goes throughout the township, and we have a lot of independent connections in there. So we're looking at a plan to figure out how we can isolate and do some metering of these basins. So our budget will have some long-term planning with that taken in mind. I want to make sure that engineering is ready on that side as well as our internal sewer side before I say that we're going to ask you for a bunch of meters to make that happen. But we are trying to identify that so that we can have a plan to look at that. So the budget proposal would be for capital spending to include addressing laterals as well as making sure that we're grabbing the appropriate data and being part of a system-wide set metering type program.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Beitler.
Hey, you had mentioned we have 20 plus meters in place now.
No, so we do not actually.
not.
So we have a handful of sewer billing meters that we have, and there's certain transition points for us to come up with a plan. So when we originally took that data, there was numerous meters spread out throughout the township. Right now, they pull those meters because the project's fairly extensive when they do a metering project throughout the system. So we do not. We have a very minimal number of meters in the system. What I would note is when we look at those components to make sure that some of those connection points, we're looking at smaller areas now instead of a large area that might have 10 connection points in it and include the LCA line. We want to kind of isolate those neighborhoods. So it might take us some more metering or longer to be able to kind of isolate the basin, look at that data and know that it's not an LCA problem in that main, or it is, and it's not a problem in our basin. So when that happens, we're trying to figure it out, like how to capture all of them. It's extensive.
I misunderstood you. I thought that we had 20 plus now in place. My question would be, how can we check what the improvements we made? Put in place line.
Yeah, we would have to go and engage more metering, which we can do, and we have no problem with that. It just takes a little bit of time to make that happen. And
Well, I'm not asking you to. I just thought we did and wanted to know if there was a change.
what we definitely did
Noticeable
in
change.
what we definitely did in 21. Remember when we
Right.
saw that program, and we saw a significant change from
Right.
18 to 21.
Right. Are we scheduled for another presentation like that last one we had?
We could
Because
do
that-
one. We haven't seen a lot because the metering is so throughout the system only happens. The next metering isn't supposed to happen for several years while other of our peers work to address it while we're addressing to have that happen. So it usually doesn't happen on an annual basis. We could internally look at our system and put in more meters or do a metering program to look at specific areas. If the board would want to see that more frequently, we could engage that to make that happen.
The reason I mentioned at that last presentation by CK, by our engineering department, was the best I ever seen since I've been here. And the public that watched it or was here, they also make comments too. They never had information they could understand like we did the last. So that's why I asked if we're scheduled for another one like that.
Yeah, we aren't anytime soon, but we can work internally. Let me see with our crews and where we are with it.
That's it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All
Okay.
right. The next item we have, just to advise the board that I was going to look to engage a stormwater easement with Mack Truck. So we have some drainage improvements that have been scheduled for quite some time on Orchard Road. One being towards Albertus Road, the other being back towards the second entrance to their parking lot. We have some catch basin install as well as some cross piping to do in that area to eliminate some ponding, mostly on the Albertus side. However, it's necessary that we drop a catch basin on one part of the street and then have that water conveyed in a pipe to what would be the west side of Orchard Road, coming from the east component. So because that water sheet flows now, we wanted to make sure that we were engaging it appropriately if we put it in a pipe and then convey it to a specific property, which is owned by Mack Trucks. That requires a stormwater easement for them to grant us that ability to do that. The solicitor's office has prepared a stormwater easement as well as a temporary construction easement for us to do that work. We'd like to move that forward to Mack. We don't believe that there will be any issue with the granting of the easement. However, we are scheduled to have our pipe contractor in that area fairly soon. So I wanted to make sure that the board, knowing that that's a permanent easement for stormwater conveyance, didn't have any issues. So
Any questions or issues? Don't see any. Okay, department reports. Is there any department reports this evening?
I'll give a little update. if you
Yes.
Don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you, Brian. So attach my department report to the agenda tonight for the gentleman to see. So I just want to focus on the land development. So couldn't have happened at a better time to have Nathan back with us. So as you could see in my report, we currently have 10 land development projects at some stage of approval, review. We have 5 that we received this month as 3 new submissions and 2 resubmissions. So, that proves that, we still are a desirable place to develop over the township. And with that goes along with permitting and quality of life as well. So we are starting to ramp up on our code complaints. So as you can see, we processed 82 permits for the month of April. We also had 64 code complaints as well. So it's starting to ramp up, and I just want to shout out to my staff. They handle everything for the department as well for the township. So we do have one item on the zoning hearing board agenda, and that is a special exception for a digital sign on 6135 Sauerkraut Lane, and that is Willow Lane Elementary School. They have an existing monument sign, and they're proposing to put a digital display. They'll be in front of the zoning hearing board at the end of the month. I appreciate the time. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Vince.
Congratulations on your soon-to-be promotion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert.
Any other department reports this evening? Okay, is there any public comment on agenda topics?
I would like
Commissioner
to-
Robert.
I would like to add an additional topic, and that is the on the real estate tax, the homestead. exemption.
Homestead, yep.
Okay, so there's been some discussion about should we have it, shouldn't we have it? And I think the answer is yes, we ought to have it, but it ought to be modified. That I would see the intention as being something to allow people that are lower income to be able to afford to pay their real estate tax. But for people that have a large income, then they should pay the full 2% tax, which we're getting. In the press it comes out as we're charging a $500,000 tax. And so I would propose that the township manager look into the possibility of a means-based evaluation of the that portion of the tax. Something, and just as a starter, something along the lines possibly of if people have an income of up to 2 times the poverty level, then grant them the full 100% of the exemption, and if up to 3 times, offer between 2 and 3 times, offering half of the exemption. And then people that had incomes above that would pay the entire $2 million tax. It would provide some additional funding to the library. It would provide additional funding to the capital projects fund, and it would still accomplish what I think was the original intent, was to protect the people with lower income from having to pay the higher tax. So if the township manager could consider that, and those might not be the right numbers. I don't know what the numbers are. And of course, in addition to the income, there's also the total assets that people have, that people that take lump sum distributions from retirement plans and so forth, and have a fairly large capital accrued, might not be paying that much in taxes, but that should also figure into if they would be eligible or not for the exemption.
Is that something that between yourself and legal can look into what the validity of that is, or the ability to do so? I don't know the.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say it's actually going to be an educational component for me on that side. So I'll work with legal to see what those provisions of the real estate tax allows us to do and not do. And I think it's a good research project, at least on my end, as I said, to have a better understanding of what that is. So I have no problem working with legal to see what's out there with that.
Yeah, I mean, just so that we could have I'd say an educated discussion about it. Instead of, I don't want to have a discussion where we don't know what the parameters are. It may not even be feasible. And there are, a number of people who don't pay anything with that homestead rebate because their home property value is less than what the mean is, or whatever it comes out to. So it would be interesting to find out how that works specifically around that, and what's allowed and what's not.
Yeah, let me do some research on it. I'll need legal's help. As I said, I'm not very well versed in that side of it, so want to make sure I bring back the right answers and see what we have. I think it's a good research project on my end, so I'll get to work on it.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I probably misunderstood you, but you want to tie like their lump sums or 401ks to their taxes?
Well,
Is-
okay, so if someone has several $1 million of investment income that's sitting there, I would not consider them to be destitute. And so why shouldn't they go ahead and pay the full amount? It's money, it's comparison of money in the bank and money that you have coming in. And both are reasonable sources of income for people to use for covering their expenses. And so, yeah, I think both ought to be covered.
All right, I I gotta think about this because it's like penalizing someone for saving money.
Well, and that's
And
why
then
we need,
living in a, you know,
yeah,
lower scale
that's why
home.
we need to get some more information so that we can have a,
Yeah,
yeah,
They might have accumulated that money because they were thrifty their whole life. And, if this would go through, this be a good model for school tax.
Mhm.
You know, that's where the bulk of the
Yeah.
taxes are. This would set a great example.
Yeah.
Someone on a low income wouldn't have to pay a high school tax.
I mean, as I've said before in the past, our property tax is nominal.
Right.
You know, when it comes to what we take or what we ask for, and then what we give a break on. You know, I've often said if there was no press involved, there was no transparency involved, you could double property tax in Lower Macungie, no one would know the difference because you're going to go from $300 to $600 a year, which is incredible. And I think it's fabulous. One of the reasons I've never voted for a tax increase, because it is affordable to live here and be rewarded. But I understand Commissioner Roberts' position, and you know, is it just like a free pass for people that don't need that free pass? You know, is it in exchange for actually generating the revenue needed to keep this a first-class township, not just in name only, but actually as we operate and as we have to replace things? I think it'd be an interesting discussion, and I would be very interested to understand the law and how it how implementation of something like that would happen, even if it's as long as it's feasible. So, Bruce, I appreciate you doing that and taking it on with, you know, I know you're not busy at all, so I appreciate that. But now you have Nate back, so you're good.
This is true. My planning component
I
has been
almost called
freed
him
up.
Sarah before, but that was way before. Thank you.
I will get to work.
Okay, any public comment on agenda topics? Seeing none?
I just have two quick comments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One, happy to have you back, Nate. The other thing was getting a lot of people at that sort of sign about Ben Weber. Very happy with the board and the township. So kudos to everybody.
Definitely a very popular decision.
one other thing. Could we modify the agenda so there would be a place for commissioners to bring up topics in the agenda at a workshop?
Sure, we could have it as probably commissioner feedback. I'll check with the solicitor how we can just kind of
Even if
put
we,
that in there.
if we added like agenda modifications in here so that one could be proposed, you know, at the start of a meeting, or so that we can at least do it that way.
Yeah,
Something clean.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, having this ability to let us know as a staff too what you want to look at as well. And then we can have things ready for you in a future meeting as well. So we can get the topic, we can hear the discussion, and then be able to provide the information that the board needs in a future meeting would be helpful always for staff. So let me see how we can address that.
Excellent. Okay.
That's a Sunshine Act question.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can stretch it.
Okay. Yeah. See where we can go with that.
Yep.
Even if it's something that is brought up at a meeting as a modification to add in the topic for future discussion or addition to a future agenda, so that there is proper notice given.
Okay.
Then with
That's pretty much what just happened, which I think will be fine.
okay. Thank you, David.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of. And that's the good part about a workshop, because you can, you know, get that out and make sure that we give staff enough time to be prepared. We don't want to be asking questions that you can't answer and then you're scrambling for things. So that's always a good thing. And I think even adds to more transparency, yeah, as we move along.
I know that well. That's one of the first things I got.
All right. So with that, we are adjourned.
See you, commissioners.
Hey, David.
Thanks, Luke.